Welcome everyone. In this tip, you're going to learn how to make sure your requirement set is decent and in good shape in order to move to design. Now again, requirements are what helps designers build the right product for the customer and make sure that what's developed is on track so that at the end of the time and the money, the customer is delighted. So, and again, when I mean requirements here, I'm meaning in general. It could be needs that we're talking about, could be requirements, could be low-level shall statements, and anywhere along the physical architecture, at the customer level, or it could be lower levels. So, but basically, we want to ask three questions when we're dealing with a set of requirements that are at least in draft form. One is, do we have them all? For instance, these are questions like, are there some government regulations that we need to incorporate into our requirement set in order to comply with them? Particularly if you have a medical device or some kind of a pharmaceutical, then there are a lot of regulations that we need to keep in mind when we're doing our design part. So, a favorite tool I like for this is context diagrams. I like to have a context diagram where you have our part in the middle, and then a bubble with each part that touches. Maybe, again for medical, there's the human body, there's regulations. I mean, anything that could affect our design of our part or system. So, after the completeness check, we need to move to, do we have a sufficient set? So is our set as small as needed? With any requirement, there's some energy, which means time and money, to verify it. And if it's a need, then we need time and money to validate it. Sometimes validation can be pretty expensive as well. It involves the customer. So we need to make sure that we have a small enough set to where it's complete. We'll develop a sufficient product, but we don't have additional requirements that aren't relevant or are so low risk that, could they be stated as guidance and then that risk be covered. So can we remove any is the main question there. Then finally, it's a requirements quality question. We look through the shall statements, whether it's a need or requirement, and is this clear? Can the designer understand this? Does it have a single idea? Does it have a subject and a verb? Does it have any attributes that are there? Can it be validated at the level we're at? I remember I was on one project where we received some requirements from the next level up, and this one requirement was something that we could not meet. It depended on so many other things at the system level that it made no sense for it to stay with us. So we elevated it back up, but we needed to get rid of that one in time before we're responsible for it. So a lot of literature out there with requirements quality, requirements metrics, requirements attributes. Might refer you to some of the INCOSI literature. That's incosi.org. And once this is set, do they make sense? We make sure we have them all, and then we've removed any we can. Now we've got a pretty good set. Now we can go into maybe some requirements reviews to do the final tweaks. To really have a solid requirements base, which is just going to save us money downstream. Solid requirements, avoid rework. They make sure you only have to design the part once. They help with discovering what might be emergent behavior, in my opinion. Because if we levy some requirements up front, we'll maybe prevent some things that we couldn't predict. That was just my opinion, but I really do believe requirements gives a lot more benefits than just saving time and money. Requirements reviews are essential. Don't neglect those. And by doing this front-loaded requirements check, up front early enough before you've gone too far in design, you're just going to save a lot of headaches down the road. You're going to save time and money, and also the customer will be happy with the product. They'll have their needs met. The requirements will be satisfied. And, that can only be good for business. Message me below if you resonate with this. If you have opinions, I'd love to hear them. And I'll see you in the next tip.